If you are brand new to Ashes of Creation, or maybe returning after a few months of taking a break, then this video is for you. After playing an ungodly amount of hours playtesting Ashes of Creation, I've quickly learned a handful of tips and tricks that will save you a ton of time and just make your overall gameplay experience a lot more efficient. Again, some of these may be friendly reminders if you guys have played Ashes of Creation in the past, but if you're new or took a long break, then chances are a lot of these tips and tricks are just going to save you from future headaches down the road. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first tip, which is regarding mounts. As you probably already noticed from that intro portion of the video, traveling by mount is much faster than traveling by foot. There is a huge map in Ashes of Creation, and you can't just fast travel all over the place. You basically have to travel by foot or by mount. However, if your mount dies, you could find yourself in a sticky situation. If you try to summon a mount that just died, you'll get this notice right here, basically saying there's a 10-minute cooldown until you can actually use that mount again. That's why my very first tip is to make sure you have at least 2 mounts at all times. Keep that starter horse that you get after doing that starter quest and just pick up more mounts as you go on. This will just allow you to travel across the map much faster in case you find yourself in a situation where your mount just takes too many hits from mobs as you're traveling. And trust me, that definitely will happen at some point. And if you want to be very prepared, you'd also get a third mount, which is a water-based mount, allowing you to breathe underwater and travel much faster while also swimming in water, which definitely will save you tons of time down the road. Now, this next tip is important. As you continue to level and just travel with your character, you're going to come across these piles of ashes, and these symbolize that a player have died. You'll also see the loot that they dropped, and if you pick up that loot, you'll see that purple symbol above your head, symbolizing that you're flagged for PvP. This will happen automatically, and it will invite other players to essentially start attacking you without consequences. The only consequence is that they'll also be flagged for PvP, but a lot of people will just go for it if they see that you're flagged because they won't get corrupted if they do kill you. So again, if you pick up someone's ashes, be prepared to get ready for a fight, or make sure you're with a bunch of friends because chances are people might come after you. The good thing is that if you actually take down the person that starts hitting you, you can also loot their ashes. But there is a timer associated with getting flagged, so you may want to step outside, get a little hidden in a certain area until you're no longer purple, and then continue on doing what you've been doing. I do want to call out though that PvP in this game is a lot of fun. There's so many different methods on how you can actually engage in PvP, and in any situation you could just find yourself in a full out battle between your group and a whole other group in some cases. However, I also want to call out the fact that you should not really focus that much in PvP in my opinion until you are max level, and here's why. Death in this game has consequences. It doesn't matter if you're fighting a pack of wolves or bears and you die from them, or if you flag up and actually get attacked from another player and killed, you will still get the consequence that I'm about to talk about. What I want you to do is take a look at my experience bar on the bottom of the screen. Yes, I'm level 25, which is the current cap, but I will still end up getting this kind of debuff in a way when I die. My experience bar will get a red bar right there, which essentially is called XP depth. If I'm leveling up and not yet max level, I'm going to have to regrind that experience and get back to where I was before I can start gaining more experience from wherever I started. And even if I am max level, I'll still get that XP depth, which will just put a dampen and basically debuff a handful of my stats across the board. So again, you do not want to die in Ashes of Creation. It's not like other MMOs out there. There will be consequences. You'll also lose 50% of whatever is in your materials tab. That means 25% is gone forever, and 25% of your total inventory is actually part of the ashes that other players can pick up. And that's important, especially if you have a ton of glint, which is on to my next point. In this game, when you kill mobs and things like that, you're not getting straight up gold. Instead, you're getting a currency known as Glint, which you cannot trade to other players. Yes, you can sell it at the NPC for some quick gold. However, I do not recommend doing that. Instead, throw it all in your storage, condense it together, and down the road, once you're stronger, you can use it to purchase materials to transfer in a caravan for even more gold. Real quick, if you made it this far in the video, consider giving it a like and also subscribing if you want to listen in on more Ashes of Creation content down the road. Okay, enough of that, let's jump back into the good stuff. The next thing I wish I knew a whole lot sooner was the fact that NPCs can hold a whole lot of good stuff. More specifically, this vendor right here sells rations, which will give you health and mana every second and is extremely useful in both PvE and PvP content. Plus, it's very, very cheap, so I do recommend buying a stack of these whenever you can and if you're running low. There's a handful of weapons that the NPC typically sells too, but to be more specific, down here you can see that there's a handful of unique satchels. There's typically one for every different type of gathering profession here, and they are extremely useful. In this game, you will pick up tons and tons of stuff, and your pockets are going to get full really, really fast. Once you purchase these satchels, it's essentially a whole other section in your bag. And as you can see, this is a novice satchel, right? It's got the perfect size for things that you hunt. Let me show you this one right here. There's a herbalism satchel. And if I drop in some herbs, it's a perfect fit. However, you can see that right there, it shows that it's out of 20. If I drop it into the herbalism satchel, it's now out of 43. That's the kind of add-on and benefit of having a specific type of satchel equipped. If you're going to cut a bunch of trees, get a bunch of lumberjacking satchels. If you're going to mine a bunch of ore, get mining satchels. It's just going to save you a lot of time and give you a lot more peace of mind when it comes to gathering with all that inventory space. And this brings me to my next tip, and that's the fact that you cannot be a master in everything. There's a total of, I think, 22 different professions in this game, and you won't be able to maximize all of them. As you can see, as I'm gathering these, I'm gaining herbalism experience, and it's leveling up and progressing my herbalism gathering profession. However, as these progress, you can only upgrade a certain amount of them over time. Whether it's crafting, processing, or gathering, you're going to have to mix and match and be social with other players in order to craft certain pieces or get your hands on certain materials or even get those materials processed. In total, you can only get an apprentice profession in up to 5 professions. You can only be journeyman in up to 4, a master in up to 3, and a grandmaster in up to only 2 professions. Basically, what this is saying is focus more so on certain professions that you know for a fact you're going to want to focus on in long term. This is not like other MMOs where you can max out everything and do everything yourself. You will have to interact with others due to these limitations, so keep that in mind as you're running around exploring and working on some of these different professions. Next up, let's talk about overall citizenship and also nodes. When someone talks about a node, they essentially mean a specific town in the game. And what's cool is that every single town has a handful of notice boards, and even these like mayoral boards right here, where you can accept different quests and get certain tokens to spend on unique items. What's also unique is that you can actually become a citizen to only one node. When you become a citizen, you will have to pay taxes in order to remain as a citizen using Glint, and you also will unlock that specific NPC within that town. Now, what's pretty cool and interesting in this game is that each node is basically representing a different type of cloak in the game, and these cloaks are actually some of the best cloaks that you can currently get in the game based on your class. So as you actually interact with some of these NPCs, you're going to see right here, here's a cloak right here where I need to use those citizen tokens, and it's honestly pretty darn good, especially for magical power users. Keep this in mind when you decide where you want to become a citizen. because you likely will need to not only get a citizen to purchase this cloak, but you will have to be a citizen to actually equip it as well. So keep that in mind when you're deciding which node you want to become a citizen in. But what if you have no idea what cloak you even want to go for? Well, that brings me to my last and final tip, which is Ash's Codex. Ash's Codex is probably going to be one of the most useful tools that you come across in this game, and it's going to be your best friend. It's going to give you all the information you need about certain items. There's going to be some video guides and just written guides, and it's very, very easy to use. All you have to do is type in what you're looking for. In this case, let's type in cloak, and we can see all the different options of different types of cloaks that are available. For example, let's say I want to look into the cloaks available in Winstead, and you can see it right here. I see it's the level 10 one, so I'm going to actually search Winstead here. There you go. I now see the level 20 Winstead cloak, which is one of my favorites because I am a fighter typically. But again, very, very easy to use. I'm dropping the link to this in the description of the chat. And again, there's a handful of things in here, so just go ahead and play around with it if you do want to dork out a bit and you do plan on going a little bit hardcore when it comes to Ashes of Creation. Again, Ash's Codex is a great tool, and I highly recommend that you just play around with it to learn a little bit more about what items even exist out there. And that really covers it. If you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, consider hitting that like and subscribe button to listen in on more Ashes of Creation content coming down the road. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.